Hey guys, in this week's episode, we're going to talk about Parasite. But before that, we're also going to talk about Watchmen, Episode 3, High and Low, the Akira Kurosawa film, and go over the poll results for our next Casualty Criterion.
Woo!
Yeah.
Current poll results, but it's not done yet.
Yeah. Technicality.
Yeah. Just want to be honest with the people.
Yeah, okay. Well, join us!
Casual Cinecast, powered by Cinelinx. With me, as always, is a man who's folding pizza boxes as we speak. Mike, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. If I forget to mute the microphone while I'm folding all these pizza boxes, forgive me.
That's all right. You got to make that extra money.
Yeah.
Also, with us is a man who never turns down free pest control. Justin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, and you're absolutely correct. That is my favorite part of living in an apartment complex. Except that I think I actually pay for free pest control, but it's baked into my rent, right? So I don't notice it.
Only children get more excited about ice cream trucks than Justin does when the pest control man drives by.
It's true.
All right. If this is your first time joining us, normally we like to start off every episode in a section called News on the March. And then for our feature review, we will be reviewing Parasite. And guys, in honor of Parasite, I had a question for you.
Ooh.
All right.
Actually, I don't. I'm thinking of one right now.
Lies.
Got it. If you had to con your way into one job for a really rich person, what would you do? Which job would it be?
A job like working for a really rich person?
Yeah.
As opposed to just any job?
Yeah, no, it has to be a job specifically working for a rich person. Which job would you con your way into?
Well, since I can't maybe Funke myself into a job as a movie producer, I would con my way into a job as an accountant and a bookkeeper for a rich person, because I would just like to see the amount of money they have and like where it's all going and how they spend it. Like, so that's sounds kind of fascinating to me.
Would you start skimming the books?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm a con artist at that point, maybe, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you've already conned your way into a job.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Or I would just make sure I was like really well compensated. Maybe I would try to find like something they've done with their money that's not on the level and be like, look, you need to pay me more or I will let this be known.
You would have to basically root out all the other con artists and then make yourself invaluable to them.
Yes, that's a plan.
Yeah.
Like it.
Chris, what about you?
Well, one of the things I enjoy in life are naps. And going on that instinct, I would be a driver for the rich man. So that or rich woman or rich person, while they're in doing whatever they need to do, I could grab like a quick 15-minute nap while I wait for them to come back.
A nap in the car is great. Are you thinking of napping in your car?
Yeah, I would just like, turn on a podcast or something and close my eyes and catch some Z's.
Yeah. I think I'd be landscape. That way you have to interact with them the least amount of anybody.
That's true. And you could get a good tan.
Yeah, you just get to hang out on the property all day. You probably have like a servant house somewhere. Yeah, just out of sight, out of mind.
It's true. And then I could know exactly how much money you guys are making too.
There you go.
Because you guys would be on the books.
In theory.
Not much is what I'm going to say.
Probably. Okay.
Hey, did you guys know that every other week here on the Casual Cinecast, we do a Casualty Criterion episode?
I did know that, yeah.
Yeah, you did?
I'm well aware.
Cool. I was really talking to the listeners, though. So if you guys didn't know that every other week we do a Casualty Criterion episode where we pick a movie from the Criterion Collection and we watch it. And we have a poll system where you guys get to choose what movie we watch. And we actually have a poll up right now. Mike, tell us about the poll.
Sure. In honor of Parasite, we decided to go with Palme d'Or winners from the Cannes Film Festival. So I chose Umbrellas of Cherbourg, Chris chose The Leopard, and Justin chose Paris, Texas. Mm-hmm. And currently that poll is happening right now, but I guess we're going to go ahead and just announce a winner here early. Is that what's going on?
Well, we just say who's leading right now and,
Okay.
pay attention to the poll on Twitter. It's a good reason to go follow us on Twitter so that you can stay up to date and know what movie we're going to be covering next week when this poll's done. I think it ends on Thursday, which actually maybe by the time you're hearing this, that poll's probably over.
Well, as of right now, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is winning with 39%.
Nice.
Paris, Texas, right behind it with a 37%.
So close.
Yeah, and then The Leopard with 24%.
What?
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. Should have chose a more appealing movie, Chris.
Well, maybe it's the length of The Leopard that is turning people away.
Maybe. I don't know. You kind of go for these like underseen, undersung films and not a lot of like the most popular choices. Like,
yeah,
you go with like some really obscure like Ozu and stuff like that. So
yeah, you don't go for the low-hanging fruit like we do.
Yeah.
So,
Eventually, there's not going to be any low-hanging fruit left, guys, and then I'll be the captain of this ship.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said captain of the ship, but I'll be leading the charge.
Yeah. Then you'll be choosing the fruit in which is being chosen.
Yeah. That made
Yes.
perfect sense.
Yep.
that was a phrase.
Yeah. Awesome. So, yeah, keep up with the poll on our social media, vote, and yeah, help us choose which of these films we get to watch next.
That's right. And to vote, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Casual Cinecast. The poll is on Twitter, so that's the best place to follow us, but we do post links to the poll on our other social media accounts. You can also send us questions and topics to discuss about the films we're reviewing each week to any of those social media accounts. You can also email those to casualcinemedia@gmail.com. And then, of course, if you haven't done so already, go onto iTunes, give us a 5-star review. Also, if you haven't done it, whatever way you're listening to podcasts, hit the subscribe button so that you can get our new episodes every week right when they come out.
Thank you for doing that.
Appreciate it. I didn't ask you. I kind of told people to do it, but that's how you do it.
Yeah, don't ask. People want to be told what to do.
That's right.
In fact, if you're listening to this at like 1.5 speed, stop it.
Yeah, that's for Netflix only, damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, boy.
Okay, what do you guys say we move into News on the March?
Yes, let's go.
Let's roll.
News on the march!
Okay, so Chris, what have you been up to this week?
Yeah, this last Sunday, I got to go to the Alamo Drafthouse here in Houston, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite places to go. And I watched High and Low there. They were showing a screening of that.
The Akira Kurosawa film?
Akira Kurosawa, yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd seen it before, but I had not seen it on the big screen. And it is a really great movie. I like it quite a bit. I like the first half a lot better than the second half. I think the first half is almost better than anything else he's done. I love that kind of, it's like just in that one room, like a play, and the blocking and the lighting and everything is so great in that first half. The second half gets a little hokey with the policeman following the kidnapper. I guess I should tell you what the movie's about.
Yeah, I disagree with you on the hokiness.
When was the last time you saw it?
That's a good question. I don't know what year, but
Yeah.
I would say I was somewhere between 20 and 24 when I watched that movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's
so
not
a while.
the hokiness. So this movie's about a kidnapper that accidentally kidnaps the wrong kid, and like a executive that has to choose whether he's going to pay the money for his driver's son or not. And that's basically the first half of the movie. And the second half is the police procedural, basically, where they are chasing after the kidnapper and trying to catch him.
Yeah.
And the procedural part of it, I don't mind. The cops can get a little hokey, and that's kind of what I was speaking about, like the hokiness. Like there's a sequence where they're tailing the kidnapper and they're like just changing hats as they follow him, and it was a little silly. I still like that movie, and I still like the second half. I just felt like it was a little off. But the first half is some of the best Akira Kurosawa stuff there is. But yeah, continually, like the Alamo Drafthouse, though, I feel like they should start sponsoring us at this point.
You should ask them to.
Yeah, I'd probably get shot down pretty quick. But this Alamo Drafthouse here in Houston is playing some of the most awesome movies. If I lived like a half hour closer, I wouldn't have money for food. So maybe it's good that I live so far away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Well, that's awesome because thematically, that's pretty on point with the movie that we're reviewing today.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, I actually did a double feature of High and Low and Parasite, and I was pleasantly surprised about how thematically well they tied in together.
Yeah. I wanted to go with you too, and I was very close to going with you, but I had a soccer game to play in, and that's like my only exercise, so I couldn't, skip out on that.
You're dead
because you got to exercise. But I wanted to go watch it. I've been meaning to like revisit High and Low for a long time, but for a while I was holding out to wait for the remake with Chris Rock that was rumored for a while.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was rumored for a very long time.
Yeah, I remember Mike was very upset about that. They have it's called Film Club is what the Alamo Drafthouse, they had these movies, and then afterwards everybody gets to have a discussion, and I brought that up, and I can say nobody remembered that was going to happen except for us.
I remembered it, and that was a joke. That's not the reason that I haven't revisited High and Low in so long. It's just been a while, but I remember being really intrigued by it because it was, I think, my first non-samurai Kurosawa film. Yeah. And it was really interesting to see what he did in a, modern in the time that it was made, like what he did in that world as opposed to, old samurai film.
For sure. It is definitely interesting because I don't know how many modern Kurosawa films there are. I would have to go back and look. But
wait, what do you mean modern?
Modern for his time, like set in his time.
Yeah. Yeah, set at the time that he made the film as opposed to like a period piece.
Yeah, I guess in that frame, like Blade Runner is modern now since it was set in 2019.
Right.
Escape from New York.
Yeah. Not, I guess, what would they be called then? They're just the modern
contemporary
movies. Contemporary movies. Perfect, Mike. When I don't have the words, you always do.
Yep, I'm here for you. I got all the words.
Awesome. Well, I'm jealous that you get to see that.
I'm looking at Letterboxd. Sorry, Justin, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm looking at Letterboxd's highest rated movies right now.
Mm-hmm.
High and Low is really, really high up there. So I don't know, man. It sounds like maybe you're wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think it actually the High and Low fluctuates because sometimes I've seen it really low too. So
okay, I get it.
It's high and low.
Oh, that makes sense.
It sure does.
Oh, goodness.
Justin, what's been on your mind this week?
On my mind, well, we are planning to talk about Watchmen episode 3, which is probably like the most important, most interesting thing that I watched this week, with the exception of maybe what I want to talk about a little bit before we get into that, which would be I finally watched the first episode of the Amazon Prime series, The Boys.
Ooh. Oh, The Boys.
Which is, thematically, I guess, on point with Watchmen. So figured it'd be a good time to just bring that up.
Yeah, I agree. I think thematically it is kind of at least tied in with Watchmen for sure. It's interesting how they both kind of handle very similar subject matter, but in totally different ways.
Yeah, it was a lot darker and I guess more adult than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
At least based on the first episode, because you do see some full frontal male nudity a couple times.
Oh, yeah, you do, don't you?
Yeah, at least once, maybe twice. But anyways.
How was that?
It was good. As good as ever,
Yeah. All right, good.
Nothing special.
Man, I hope that actor's not listening right now.
I said it was as good as ever. It's not like I said it was,
said nothing special.
Below averagely good.
Okay.
Anyways,
move on, please.
The Boys. I thought it was actually a really interesting first episode, and I haven't got to the second episode yet because I just watched the first one, and I've been busy watching Parasite and Watchmen episode 3.
Yeah.
But I plan to watch it because the first episode was really great, and it really hooked me in a way that I was hoping to be hooked by the first episode of Watchmen. And of course, we'll get into how we feel about Watchmen now, like 3 episodes in. But like from the word go, this felt a little bit more like this sort of like realistic, like modern commentary on the superhero that I was hoping the Watchmen would be.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I agree. The first episode hits the ground running and it hooks you right away. I pretty much watched the entire series in like 2 days because the first episode did hook me so much. It's handling the superheroes in a modern world, just like Watchmen is, but they're handling it in a different way. Like, they're focusing a lot on, like, the corporate structure behind sponsoring superheroes and stuff like that, which is interesting. That, like, just different stuff than Watchmen's diving into, though, you know?
Yeah, The Boys actually has people with superpowers. The Watchmen has one person with superpowers, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a little bit different there, too.
Yeah.
Very true. I guess it's, you know, talking about politics and corporate power and corporate greed and stuff in that world, as opposed to looking at these characters as, at least at this point, based on the first episode, there's not as much like individual psychological aspects to like the superheroes themselves. They seem just kind of like clear good guys and bad guys at this point. Like, the deepest character is the non-superhero character whose girlfriend gets like killed within like the first like 10 minutes of the episode.
Sure. Yeah. I would say keep watching, though, because it definitely starts to dive into some more of that stuff as the series or season 1 goes on.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And I think if anyone's listening to this and you're not that into this Watchmen series and you want something maybe a little bit more high octane, I think, and a little bit more like intense.
Yeah. A little more energetic.
Yeah, energetic. That's a good word for it. Check out The Boys on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. I wonder if that's still Amazon Prime's highest rated TV show. It was for a minute. I know that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Cool. That's good. I'm glad you liked it. I'm interested to see what you think about the rest of the season. It's mercifully short. It's only like 8 episodes long, so you should be able to just kind of finish it at your own convenience, but
yeah,
you should address it again on the show after you finish season 1.
Yeah, that's when I'll bring it back up. I'll watch the rest of the season and then report back.
Look forward to it.
Okay, so why don't we just all go ahead and move into talking about The Watchmen now?
Yeah, absolutely. Episode 3.
All right. Justin?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. And before I kick us off, just want to say that we will be spoiling stuff for this 3rd episode of the Watchmen series on HBO. So if you haven't seen it, you don't want anything spoiled, check out the show notes because we'll have a timestamp in there telling you when this section ends so that you can skip ahead and not get anything spoiled.
Yeah, and also just PS onto that real quick. If you want to hear our thoughts about the first 2 episodes of Watchmen, it's pretty much just been on the News on the March sections of the last 2 chronologically released episodes. So whether it's casually Criterion or a current movie, just, you know, go back through and catch up with those if you want to.
Yeah. They all say Watchmen or HBO's Watchmen in the titles. So just look for the ones that have that, you know.
No big deal. Easiest thing in the world.
Ain't that hard.
Nope.
All right. So my thoughts on episode 3. This is the episode that I think I've been waiting for. It got into a lot of bringing in like the stuff from the first or the graphic novel, right? And the things that I've been wanting to come back up, like seeing some characters that are older. We've had, you know, confirmation that characters we've been seeing are these specific characters from the graphic novel. And it had a little bit more of the tone of the graphic novel, like with the kind of overarching narration throughout the whole episode. I want to call it narration, but it's is it Silk
like the
Spectre?
Framework of the joke?
Yeah, Silk Spectre telling the joke on the phone to
Silk Spectre 2.
Silk Spectre 2, excuse me. Telling the joke and that like kind of coming in. That just, and it felt a lot more on tone with the graphic novel. So this really felt a lot more like the show I was hoping to get, and it seems like we're kind of pivoting to that. And I really enjoyed this one. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've been pretty similar to you pretty much this whole season so far, which the first 2 episodes, which is that, yeah, what we're seeing is good, but it doesn't feel like Watchmen. And now it feels like Watchmen. I kind of wish this had been like the 2nd episode, or like parts of this had been sprinkled into the 1st and 2nd episode a little bit more. But I'm happy that it's here now. I'm really enthusiastic about this episode. I think all the callbacks and everything to the graphic novel are really interesting. I also think this episode has maybe some pretty clunky exposition, but probably some much needed exposition. Because it flat out tells you a lot of stuff that's going on in a much broader scope now. Because we venture outside of Tulsa and we see people talking about Tulsa from the outside. Now we realize that masks aren't everywhere. It's a new thing developing. You know what I mean? We got more context on Redfordations, all that stuff. Like, it's like the world building is finally being explained to us. And it felt pretty good. I liked it. I liked all the explanations it was going for. I think the addition of Lori going in there really spices things up. And I think where her character is at mentally is just different enough from the end of the graphic novel to make the journey that we're about to go on with her pretty interesting. I think she's a good foil for Regina King's character. So Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, as I've been pretty positive on the show, at least for the first 2 episodes. That's why I'm so disappointed to say that I didn't like this one. That's a lie. I really enjoyed this episode.
Good one, Chris.
Yeah, and it keeps. I feel like it keeps getting better. I don't mind the first 2 episodes because I think they had to set the stage for Tulsa before they bring in the other stuff. I like how the world building was sprinkled in, and then in this one, things kind of click into place and it makes more sense now. I really like the world building. I like how they took Silk Spectre's character and like walked it down the line 30 years and where she's at now makes perfect sense. I really love the phone booth to Dr. Manhattan. I think that's so great. Like if there was a person that existed like Dr. Manhattan, I don't know if in this world this is a thing we may discover, but like there'd be religions based around Dr. Manhattan.
Well, that's what this seemed like to me. It seemed like a confessional booth where people could just go and like pay money to send messages to Dr. Manhattan who may or may not listen to them.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah.
Like
I mean, it's exactly like prayer. I mean, that aspect of it kind of reminds me of The Leftovers. Just like what is your belief system when something like usurps your previous belief system. I think that's pretty amazing. Yeah, I also like how we come in from this different perspective. And so, the first 2 episodes were about Tulsa, and then we get the Silk Spectre's point of view, and then we come in from Tulsa and we see how things operate there that are so much different. I really like this episode. I think there may be one scene, I guess since we're in spoilers, let me ask you guys I'm not sure how I feel about the scene, but what did you guys feel about the terrorist sequence at the funeral? Did that feel cheesy to you, or did it feel cheesy because it was supposed to be fake, or like how do you guys feel about that?
I mean, I remember as it was going on, I remember thinking like, this is a really crappy bomb hooked up to your heart. If it like,
well, maybe he wasn't dead yet, so the heart was still beeping.
Yeah, maybe
still going. Yeah.
But anyway, I mean,
that was kind of
at the time that was going through my brain. I don't know. It wasn't super cheesy. I think like throwing the body into the 6-foot hole and throwing the coffin on top of it is actually kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think maybe in editing it could have been a little quicker paced to make it seem more energetic, because it seems like she drags that body a really long way before the bomb goes off.
Yeah, whenever she's doing it, I was like, you do not have time to do this.
Yeah, I was like, just run, girl. What are you doing? Everyone's running away already. They're already in clear. What are you doing?
How about you, Justin? What did you think?
I mean, as far as story goes and everything, it worked for me, and I was kind of expecting it to go where it went with Silk Spectre 2 being the one that like, I don't care, I'm just going to shoot him.
Yeah.
And like kind of showing her, maybe her like, in a sense, like naivety.
She's leaning into her comedian side.
Yes, like it shows also that, but also like she's got a bit of, I don't want to say naivety, but like something, she's not as familiar with this like situation that's going on in Tulsa, right? Because she was like, I didn't think he would actually do it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she doesn't care about anything anymore to a certain extent. Like, she's removed like Manhattan was. So she, like...
Yeah, she's going by Blake now, so she's embraced her father's last name. She knows who her father was and what an awful man he was, and how he worked for the government for many years being their spook. So she's essentially kind of doing the same thing in the FBI now, but it seems like this dark, jaded attitude she has is kind of like a front to me. Like, it doesn't seem like necessarily...
Oh, you think it's a front?
Well, I don't know that it's a front, but it's not necessarily her default state. I think, like, this is where she's starting, but I have a feeling she won't end the series in this exact state. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think, I think just keeping the secret, that 3 million people died, keeping that secret will make you jaded. And also, I think, like, you are in love with the most powerful being in the universe, and he lives on Mars now, and you're in love with God, essentially, you know, and he doesn't give a shit about anybody, you know, or having that feeling makes you jaded
right.
as well.
I mean, she left him, though. She left Dr. Manhattan for a more human connection with Night Owl, who we find out has been in jail in this episode, which is another reason to add to her jadedness. Mm-hmm. It also is kind of a callback in this episode when she pulls out like the really huge blue vibrator. And then instead she opts to go for the human connection.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So she thinks she misses Dr. Manhattan now, but I think she needs him in the same way we all need him. I don't think she actually misses him in that same way because it seems like she still strives for a human connection. She even makes him, the FBI agent she sleeps with, she even makes him put on a mask like Dan needed to do to have sex with her.
Yeah, that was the big callback to me. I was like, you still need to do this, huh? Or you still prefer to do this?
Still got some hang-ups, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now she's telling jokes too. So she's really adopted the whole comedian thing.
I've heard people say that's more comedian-like, but really the way she's saying it is really more of a Rorschach callback than anything.
The ending thing, like drum roll.
Yeah, snare drum.
Curtains, yeah. Or snare drum. Okay, and then the other thing I think we need to touch on, because I think this is my favorite of, so far out of the three, of the Ozymandias sequences.
Oh, man, yeah.
We finally get the reveal that he is Ozymandias, but like, what the hell is going on there?
Oh, man. Yeah. So he's either in a prison somewhere, like in space, and he's trying to get
captive,
out.
Yeah.
Or he's in a prison on Earth, and he's trying to reach Dr. Manhattan in Mars.
Yeah, I feel like maybe... Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I kind of have this idea that maybe he's wants to try to kill Dr. Manhattan or kill God or something.
That's what Laurie's joke was all about, throwing a brick and killing God.
Yeah. Yeah, so... Yeah, but it does make sense if like he's in a prison in space somewhere because he's got to get out, and that's why he's building this suit and mask with whatever limited resources he has that can withstand space.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. He may even be prisoner of Dr. Manhattan, I think.
And that adds up with what you were talking about last week, Mike, with the mansion that Adrian Veidt / Ozymandias is living in being the same. Like we see Dr. Manhattan on the news in the first episode building a mansion of the same, or house, whatever, of the same shape. Yeah. So it might make sense that maybe he's some sort of, being held prisoner by Dr. Manhattan.
Well, and they're also playing with time with the Ozymandias storyline, because in the first episode, the cake was like with a 1 on it. And then the second episode, the cake had a 2 on it. So what we're seeing, he may have been there for years.
Yeah.
We don't really know exactly what the timeline is for where he's at and like how long he's been there, or exactly like how it fits into, or if it's even in the same timeline as the stuff we're seeing in Tulsa,
Right. Yeah. It's probably not like exactly coinciding.
A lot of interesting stuff this episode. More of this, please. Yeah, this is the Watchmen I always envisioned whenever they announced the show. Yeah. This is what I hoped for.
2 of my favorite lines in this is to the typewriter, Mrs. Crookshanks.
Yeah.
And then the second one is in that same scene, but he's like, oh, how does he say it? He's like, and I'm very pleased that you like the tomatoes. Like after he's...
He's like, I'll be here in person if you want to repeat your ridiculous accusation.
Yes, that scene is so awesome. I love
also,
that
I'm happy you enjoyed the tomatoes.
And Jeremy Irons is just like, killing it in that scene. The whole thing is pretty awesome. But like, it looks like he's having so much fun.
Do you think but if it is maybe a prison type thing, or even if you don't think it's a prison type thing, what do you make of the other person who fired at him after he killed like the buffalo?
Oh, the warden or the game warden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that,
I think,
part of the prison potentially? Like a guard?
Well, he said that, I don't even know if it's a prison exactly, because like I think he may be hiding there for like sanctuary.
He did say captivity in the letter, like this was not an agreement.
He entered into a deal with the game warden of captivity. So I think it may be like willing captivity to hide. I don't know, because the world thinks he's dead.
Right. It's interesting. I kind of, my theory is, and this is probably completely wrong, but that's a lot of the fun of these shows. So it's like Dr. Manhattan has imprisoned him, and I feel like he's supplied him with these this life form of these two people, and I'm imagining that the game warden is just something that he put in place to keep him in check, just like the servants, essentially. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, so the other thing that was interesting, and it has to do with Dr. Manhattan, it's only for a split second, but when they're interviewing Keene Jr. after, he's been almost kidnapped and all that stuff happens, one of the reporters says to him, what do you have to say about Russia having the indomitable blah, blah, blah thing, the same thing that created Dr. Manhattan, essentially. So from what I take from that is Russia's trying to build their own Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, I caught that too.
So also that ties in to, so like that the Russia feud and stuff is happening again, but it also feels like that whole thing was fake, was a setup to make Keene Jr. look really good. And so I'm interested to see if he wasn't in on that and he wasn't supposed to die, the other guy.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know.
Okay, and the one question that I had, and I rewound and tried to watch this again because I didn't quite pick up on it and didn't, even like the second time, I wasn't quite sure what they were saying, but in the FBI briefing, they show a photo that's like Rorschach's journal. And when they flip to that photo, they say something about they rounded up everybody and including the grandfather or something like that. And I didn't know if that grandfather thing was referencing, I know Rorschach's dead at the end of the graphic novel, but it's like they said something about a grandfather and cut to that journal. I don't know if I missed something. Did you guys pick up anything regarding that?
I didn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay.
I didn't hear anything about a grandfather.
Yeah, it happened so fast and it's not quite clear what they're talking about. So I wasn't sure. Like I even watched, like I said, I watched it a second time and I was like, I don't know what they mean. So maybe I just need to watch it again, or maybe it'll become more clear later on.
I'll probably watch this episode again before the next episode airs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've already watched it twice. My roommate was watching it, so I walked in. I did like a line when Petey shows the Rorschach journal. I really like how the guy reacted to it because I think that is kind of a theme for this show. And he's like, "What is this? The 1980s? Like that's in the past. And the thing is that like we never deal with the past. So the past." What is it for Magnolia? You may be through the past, but the past isn't through with you, type of thing. So that's what that reminded me of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing I did enjoy, the conversation between Silk Spectre 2 and, is it Looking Glass?
Yeah. That was good.
Where they're in the thing and she's like, oh, so it's like a racist detector. And he's like, no. And she refers to it later. She's like, so you talk to him here in the racist detector?
Yeah, and he's like, it's not a...
He's like, that's an oversimplification.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was funny to me.
I think that works like on two levels there because like it kind of just spells it out for us, like for the audience. Like if you haven't quite got it yet, which is fine, but it's also really funny too.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Awesome. So that is our thoughts on Watchmen Season 1, Episode 3.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are thoughts.
That was our thoughts. Yep.
And they were coherent.
More coherent than that sentence.
Yes, indeed. Okay, guys. So what do you say we go ahead and move into our review for Parasite?
Yes, it's what the people want.
Punch it.
Nailed it, Chris. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
뭐야, 소독해? 창문 닫아.
나도 봐. 공짜로 집안에 소독도 하고.
부모님 얼굴도 뵙고 좋더라. 건강들 하시고.
일거리가 없으셔도.
네가 내 대신 얘 과외 선생님 좀 해줘라. 영어.
대학생인 척하라는 거야?
구라를 좀 치지 뭐.
넌 이 좋은 실력으로 왜 미대는 맨날 떨어지냐?
All right, so as always with our current theatrical release films we cover on the podcast, we will be doing a non-spoiler section first, so we'll be giving spoiler-free thoughts. We won't spoil anything. It'll be very generic. And before we move into spoilers, we'll give you a warning and we'll play a little bumper, and it'll be a nice long spoiler alert. Plenty of time for you to pause the podcast, go see Parasite, and then come back and finish listening.
All right, Parasite, directed by Bong Joon-ho, starring Kang Ho-sung, Yi Jing-jo, and Sodam Park. The IMDb synopsis says, all unemployed, Kai Take's family takes peculiar interest in the wealthy and glamorous Parks for their livelihood until they get entangled in an unexpected incident. So, guys, who would like to get us started on their thoughts for Parasite?
Well, I can go first. This was on my most anticipated of the year list way back in January when we did it, back when I only knew Bong Joon-ho, Parasite, and Kang Ho Song. And I was sold then.
Yeah, that was enough to sell me at the time as well. So, yeah, kick us off.
Like I said, I was very much anticipating this film whenever the good word came out after Cannes, and then of course it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. I was even more excited, and I was actually just really excited that everybody else in the world, at least in like the film world, seemed to be really excited about this film too. You know, it was just fun. It seemed to be a lot of like really just fun, like goodwill and good spirit towards this film, which, you know, isn't the most common thing. Like there's a lot of negative thoughts out there in the world, and this film didn't really seem to have any of that surrounding it, which is good. Just kind of pleasant, you know? Mm-hmm. And as far as the film goes, I avoided everything about it. I didn't even really ever read a synopsis or like a one line of what the film was about. Even like back in January when I put it on my most anticipated list, there wasn't even any sort of synopsis for the film at all.
Yeah.
So I went in knowing nothing, and I'm very glad that I saw it that way. So if you are listening and you are wanting to see the film and you haven't yet, you can keep listening and we're not going to spoil anything, but like, I do want to say I think the film is better. Just go in not knowing anything.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah, sidebar. Even to the point where I sat down to watch it, I thought I was in for a horror movie.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and that's
how little I knew.
Once you go in, just not knowing what to expect. Yeah, I took my fiance, and she kind of had a similar feeling, you know. She's like, you know, what am I about to see? Is it a horror film? Because it's called Parasite.
Right.
And I said, I don't know. Let's find out. Let's go. But so we both really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was nothing short of incredible for me. It's such a film that covers so many tones and so much different like emotions. Like I laughed during the film. I felt sad during the film and like emotional. At times I felt like embarrassment, like where I started to like kind of feel that sort of like embarrassment flush, like for the characters there. I was like shocked. And I was moved and just like intrigued and left thinking about this film. Like I really feel like this film, more than any other this year, just kind of gave me everything that I could want.
Yeah.
And, you know, I expect a lot of what I got from Bong Joon-ho based on his other films that I've seen, like Mother and Memories of Murder and The Host. So I expected a lot of like the more darker aspects of the film and the feelings, but I will say I was pleasantly surprised by how much humor I found in the film and like how funny I thought it was at times. And the way that he balances those in this film, like moving from humor and ending up in like a dark space or being dark and then having some humor come in, like it feels like perfectly on point. Like I don't feel like the ball is dropped anywhere switching in those tones. And the other last thing that I'll say, other than I'll say quickly, the performances are really great. But the other thing that stands out to me, as often is the case with these sort of more mainstream South Korean films that come out, like, you know, Old Boy, the other Bong Joon-ho films, like the cinematography is just incredible to me. Like it feels almost like Hitchcock level of, and like Coen Brothers level of like tedious planning in terms of the shots. Like I don't feel like I'm watching a film that was built in the edit. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's so intentionally shot that
sorry, go ahead.
It's just really impressive. Like I feel like I'm watching something that's been so meticulously thought out and planned that like I'm watching the film that like was in the filmmaker's head before they started making the film. And I'm sure that's not exactly the case, but that's just how perfectly crafted this feels.
Actually, I do believe that is the case. He doesn't shoot coverage, from my understanding, from other places that I've read. So, like, the film is in his head before he makes it. So,
well,
yeah,
he pulls it off, and
yeah, for sure,
just 100% nails it. So that's where I'm at. I'm extremely high on this film at this point. It is my favorite film of the year, pretty easily. So, I mean, that's pretty reactionary. So that could come down, but right now, like, I just can't see anything that's like competed with it at all. So that's where I'm at. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, so I have been a fan of Bong Joon-ho for quite some time. I remember back when The Host came out, we were all working at Blockbuster around that time. So that's kind of where I first heard of the guy. And after that, I kind of kept tabs on him throughout the years. I believe the only movie at this point of his that I have not seen is Okja, which I still need to catch up on. But yeah, I gotta say, Parasite might end up becoming tied for my favorite Bong Joon-ho film.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, this movie is really something else. I agree with you on pretty much everything you said. Just when you think you know where this movie is going, there's a sudden turn. And these turns don't feel like a twist for the sake of a twist. It feels like the story naturally unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'll keep it short so Chris can go, but I just want to get into it as soon as we can. But yeah, I echo everything you're saying. This is definitely going to be in the top 3 or 4 movies of the year, if not number 1. I really, really enjoyed it. As a fan of Bong Joon-ho, I'm just happy to see that he is back in South Korean cinema, where I feel like I prefer him. Not that I don't like Snowpiercer, but...
Yeah, I actually haven't seen Snowpiercer, but I did see Okja and was not that into that one.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, actually. And my less than enthusiastic reaction to Snowpiercer, which I still think is a good movie, but it made it to where I didn't even really want to see Okja. But I am so happy that he is back and this movie is being well received. And I just can't wait to watch Memories of Murder again now, so I can compare and contrast. But yeah, Chris, what do you think of Parasite?
Yeah, everybody likes this movie. It's pretty amazing, to be honest. Like Justin was saying, I'm still waiting for like the backlash. Somebody's going to be like, this movie, there's going to be a wave of people not liking this movie. We'll see if that actually happens. But as for the movie, I really like it. Bong Joon-ho, I'm right there with you guys. Snowpiercer and Okja, I've seen both of those. Not my favorites. Memories of Murder, I just watched this year, and I really like that movie.
Man, I love that movie.
Yeah, so Bong Joon-ho's great, and I think if you combine Memories of a Murder and Snowpiercer together, you get Parasite. And and I think that's great because it's funny. You guys have already kind of covered everything. This movie moves and keeps you guessing in a way. And when the ridiculous stuff does happen or the twists do happen and they're thinking about it or on paper, it is fairly ridiculous. But I never questioned it while I was watching it. I never thought, well, this is dumb. As far as the plot goes and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed this movie. I am looking forward to my second viewing of it. It's got to happen soon. But yeah, so let's just get into the movie and talk about what the specifics of it.
Yeah, so real quick, I just want to jump off something Justin said earlier, which is the cinematography, everything. It feels so right. Like there doesn't feel like a misstep in the whole thing, but it's not just the shots. It's the color palette. It's the blocking with the actors. It is the set in general. It seems like everything is working together simultaneously to build this this story in this world that it feels so real, but it feels so isolated. I don't know. It just feels really beautiful that they're able to make something that is so present of today, right? Of all these movies now about the class structure that are coming out, or, the differences between the lower class and the upper class in today's world, that's a huge theme that's been going on through movies for the past few years now. And I think this one handles it with so much grace and to where, yeah, it's heavy handed, but it feels right. It feels natural. It doesn't feel like he's talking at you. It feels like something that transcends country and culture.
Well, for sure, yeah.
It's heavy-handed, but it's also the backdrop and not the focus of the movie.
Right. Yeah, there's enough thrills with the twists and turns of the actual plot to keep you engaged on that level primarily, and then the points and the messages of the movie and the themes of the movie can be the backdrop and they can unfold in a really natural way that feels organic instead of relying on them to drive the story forward, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And kind of to that point, one of the things I like that they do with this movie is they don't, all the characters are gray, as opposed to having the rich people be snooty or, there's no bad characters in this. Everybody's just trying to, make it. So yeah, that's one of the things that I like about this.
Yeah, and I do like a nice little touch that I like is the families' names. I believe they're the Kims and the Parks, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a little bit like calling them, if this movie's in America, they'd be the Johnsons and the Smiths.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
So I like this sort of generalization that makes it, it just makes it, I like that sort of generalization that makes it feel a little bit more universal in a way.
Yeah, every man.
Yeah. I don't know how much we could talk about this film in any great depth without going into spoilers. So do you guys have any other points that you want to hit on before we do that?
Now let's get into spoilers here.
Yeah. Real quick, before we go into spoilers, let me just say that, real quick, I think that every member of the family, pretty much every character in the movie is fleshed out. They each have their own little arcs, their own little quirks about them. They all feel different. Like, like so many times in these movies, it feels like there could be too many characters and someone gets sidelined. I don't feel like anyone got that in this movie.
No, and I think even characters that start out feeling like our main characters kind of end up even with just about everybody else by the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. So, I'll just echo everything you guys said. Love this movie. Definitely one of the best of the year. I am ready to get into spoilers whenever you guys are.
Yeah, we have one listener question sent in from So Wizard Podcast on Twitter at So Wizard Podcast. And they say, my thoughts are, when will this be playing near me? And
tomorrow.
I don't know where they are.
Yeah, but the odds are probably not at all until it comes out on VOD or Blu-ray.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's at a lot of theaters, like even just kind of the regular theaters around me. Of course, I live in Houston, which is a big city, and I don't know where they are, but it seems fairly popular in that sense.
Well, unless you live in a large city, it probably won't come near you, so you have to go to the nearest large city.
Yeah. I bet you get this week, Mike. I think as it's slowly... If you got Lighthouse, I feel like Parasite would work. I guess it's subtitled, but...
Yeah, are you kidding me? It's subtitled.
Yeah, well, I will say that I hope it comes near them soon.
Absolutely.
So that they can see it, because it deserves to be seen. And there are certain aspects of this movie that I think we'll get into later that I think are enhanced seeing it on a big screen versus the small screen, a relatively small screen, even though TVs are big these days.
Agreed.
All right. So do we want to do like a rating? You guys want to give this out of 5-star rating real quick before we move into spoilers?
Sure. I mean, out of 5, I'm either at a 4.5 or a 5. I hesitate to go 5 right now just because the movie is universally loved and I've only seen it once. And, I don't know. I will probably bump it up to 5 stars by the time I see it again. But right now, just so I don't do recency bias, it's sitting tentatively at a 4.5.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Mike. I think 5 stars are for like a year later. And then you're like, yes, this is a 5-star movie. Like when you think about it again, you're sure about it, because that's just, I don't know, like in a year you can feel it better than right now.
Well,
that's my thinking.
That's true. Ultimately, yes. Like if it's a 5-star movie, it will still be a 5-star movie and it will be more obvious to you in a year's time.
Yeah.
But, if you feel it coming out of the theater, like here's the thing is like when it's over, like I almost had that feeling of like, that was it. You know what I mean? But my initial reaction when it was over wasn't so much like best movie of the year as much it was like, I need to see that again and soon.
Yeah.
So, which is very close to that same feeling. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like I said, I can easily see it going up to a 5. I just, right now it's competing with like just one other movie at this point in time. And I just don't know if it would be number 1 for me yet. You know what I mean? So it's still just mulling it over in my head.
What about you, Justin?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty much with you guys. I don't quite have the hesitation to drop a 5-star because I do think, that I guess I'll caveat it. And, yes, it is my initial reaction walking out of a theater, but that's how I feel right now. And I can change that, If I watch it in a year, if I reflect in a year, I'm like, what is a bit more 4.5? Maybe I overreacted. It's like, that's okay. But like, there is value to the feeling that I have right now. And I didn't just walk out of the theater. I'm like,
totally,
3 days on from it. But that feeling is still there of like,
makes sense.
My initial reaction is like, yeah, that was perfect. I can't imagine anything more that I want out of that movie. It's, so I'm 5 out of 5. We'll see how that holds up in time, but that's where I'm at right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I probably agree with you.
Nice. It's good to be in agreement.
Yeah.
With friends.
Look at that. Yeah. But speaking of changing things on Letterboxd, I actually just went through that today. For all the listeners, I went through Letterboxd and went through and kind of adjusted and tweaked some of the things over the past couple of years that I've been rating on Letterboxd. And now I feel better about my 4 and 4.5 and 5-star ratings, So change them at any time. Right. Nothing's set in stone.
Yeah. I was actually just looking at my movies I've watched in 2019, the 2019 films, looking, because we're getting kind of close to the best of the year, end of the year, where we're going to do our top 10 lists. And I started looking at it and I'm like, I kind of want to rearrange this. Now that I've had some distance from some of these movies, some things can move up or down. And I think I enjoyed this movie more than that, or maybe that movie wasn't as good as I initially rated it, So
yeah,
I need to do that at least with my 2019 movies.
And then sometimes I look back on it, and I look at other people's ratings, and I kind of think back on our episodes, and I'm like, that movie's actually better than I rated it beforehand. You know what I mean? I've actually come around an opposite way and be like, I was too harsh on that movie before. A little rarer than coming down on a movie, but it still happens.
Yeah. Well, Parasite basically has nowhere to go but down for most of us. So if that
true.
One's going to change, it's going to go down, but we'll see.
All right. So spoilers, right?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Let's do it.
No, I guess Rosebud is just a piece in a jigsaw puzzle.
How many cigarettes you got up there? I'll tell you all about it.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
And here we go.
All right, so we'll start off the spoiler section with a list